We're not going to need a Captain America. We're going to need a U.S. agent.
Hip hip! Boo! You stink!
Hello everyone, welcome to 2FAST2MOVIE. I'm your host Kenny, and with me is my co-host Matt Kime. And today we will be covering the final episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So Matt, we've gone through so much together. We've had our ups, our downs, we've laughed, we've cried, we've fought, we've danced. So, what did you think of this finale?
I was confused by a good majority of things that I saw in this episode. Like, this show gets a lot of things right, and so I do want to give it the benefit of the doubt. But it almost feels like, in terms of plotting, it just completely went off the rails because nothing made sense in this episode. Having said that, I think that the emotional storytelling still kind of pulls through at the end for the episode. And so it was nice to see the three main characters that we've been following, Walker, Bucky, and Sam. Their arcs ended up where they needed to end up, and at least in the case of those three, it was all very satisfying to watch. And so I respect the show for putting the emotional beats first, but it really feels like that whatever has been whatever hampered the show with the pandemic interruptions, it just wasn't able to recover from, at least not all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think emotionally it was a great conclusion, but the plot, I still don't know what happened, honestly. So I'll do my best in the plot summary. But before we get to that, please, if you like what you see, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. We upload new videos every week. And our friends are also covering Invincible and My Hero Academia on their segments of 2FAST2MOVIE. So be sure to check that out after you watch this. And as always, spoilers ahead. So I guess this episode we just start off, just right immediately in the middle of it. No setup, just no intro, just right into it, with government officials captured by flag smashers. Sam, Bucky, and Sharon come into New York to save the day. And Sam finally comes in with his new suit and shield as the new Captain America. So, yeah, Sam takes to the skies, and Bucky stays on the ground to save the senators, and Sharon does her own little infiltration thing, and with that little fucking mercury vapor thing, that was yikes. And also later, John Walker comes in too to take on Carly. And in the scuffle, John is faced with the decision to go after Carly or save the senators. John takes the high ground for once and attempts to save the senators. Afterwards, John then joins Sam and Bucky to take down the rest of the Flag Smashers and Carly. Carly encountering Sharon, it was revealed that Sharon is the power broker. Surprised Pikachu face. Carly and Sam later fight, but Carly is then shot by Sharon. And afterwards, Sam gives the senators a reality check on what their power means and how they should use it. And whether this changes anything or not, we'll see. But yeah, Sam in this episode has proven himself to be the new Captain America. And so towards the end, Bucky finally tells Hakajima the truth, and Sam immortalizes Isaiah Bradley's history in the Smithsonian. So yeah, just within that summary alone, a lot happened, but also like plot wise, I'm still, I don't know, like I'm still.
It really feels like at least half an hour got cut out of this episode because Sam and Bucky, I think the last time we saw them in the last episode, they were still hanging out at Sam's house. I mean, shit, there's a whole plot line about a boat, about Sam's family's boat and and I guess you could argue that it got wrapped up this week, but it was never even acknowledged. I don't think the sister had a single word, and she was supposed to be more than what she was, I think. And then you don't see Sam designing or putting on the new suit. He just the first time you see him, he's already fighting someone in it. And there's no scene of, hey, this is happening in New York, we need to get over there right now. They're already there, and Walker's already there. And it really feels like half an hour got cut out of this episode. I have like there was we got dropped into like no fucking context whatsoever, and so it's like the first 10 minutes of this episode, I just spent the entire time trying to figure out what was going on, and I don't think that's like the worst thing in the world, like what ended up happening. Because the focus did turn into Sam proving himself, and that was the big thing about this episode, and proving why he, more than anybody else, has to be the new Captain America. And so seeing him at the end with Isaiah was nice, and because it was an acknowledgement of the up and down, shall we say, history associated, but the whole idea that in order to move forward and still remain a viable symbol, it has to evolve. And so I think the show did a really, really, really good job of communicating that theme. And we don't even, but I don't know, like, you don't even get a scene of Sam, like, debuting the new suit, and that's such a common trope in any superhero movie, let alone one that's built up to him becoming Captain America. So it's like, it really felt like there's just a lot missing here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Yeah, the emotional impact of this episode, especially, like, the last half of it, when things are wrapping up, and, like, we see the conclusions of these characters, like, that we predicted in the beginning, and, like, seeing it play out, it was very satisfying. With Sam being the new Captain America, and that suit looks great. But yeah, I guess, like, it's supposed to be like, that suit was made by the Wakandans, and it was given to him in that suit. Yeah, well, what was in the box? It was the suit, and, like,
That's right.
yeah, I mean, like, again, I guess that could have been communicated better, but again, it feels like things were cut out. I doubt for timing. And okay, so Matt, what if? So last week, what if I didn't tell you about the sort of cut material? How would you feel about this finale? What did?
I would have thought that it was a train wreck,
Yeah.
to be honest. It's like my one of my big consistent things about the show is that the Flag Smashers and their motivations and their objectives just aren't being explained whatsoever. And this episode did nothing to further that. There was just, I mean, hell, it's a little trite by this point, but just if they had even added scenes of them planting a bomb or something, I don't know. It's like again, this show was never about the Flag Smashers, but it definitely wants to have its cake and eat it too with them. So it's like, I don't. Had you not, I don't even know where I'd be standing right now, to be honest. Had I not known that extra context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Honestly, I mean, like, for going into this episode, for me, like, already, like, I just didn't know what the Flag Smashers were doing, and at that point, like, when the episode started, I didn't care, and I was just like, okay, bad guys, we gotta give something for the new Captain America to fight. So that's that. And
well, the other thing is that, like, John Walker shows up there,
right,
and
with his
the last time
shield.
we see him, it really seems like he had lost his mind, or was about to, and was building the new shield. And he ends up in the same location and fighting against and with everybody. And he has some great moments, but it's like,
we missed the scene.
yeah, it's like, I want to know how much got cut out and what was in those scenes. I really, really, really want to know.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't think they were even finished filming when COVID hit. That's the thing.
No, they weren't. They
Yeah.
weren't.
So, like, I don't know. I don't know if any of the original material was ever shot. You know.
Re- if it was, I would like to see like an original cut of it sometime down the road. Maybe when it's a little bit more tasteful to have a pandemic storyline. But I want to know what we missed.
Yeah, me too. But I doubt, as much as I would like that too, I doubt that's going to happen because, like, as much as this information is going around that there was cut content, Marvel's never confirmed it, and they
Well,
probably
Marvel
won't.
doesn't typically do the director's cut thing, anyways.
Yeah,
It's not really like Zack Snyder. It made sense in a weird kind of way, just because of the wacky circumstances involved with Justice League and the fact that Zack Snyder has done director's cuts for every movie he's ever made. That's like I read some interviews where he's like, yeah, no, this isn't a new thing for me to do. I don't know why it's that big of a deal, but it's
Yeah.
it's not really Disney's style to do that kind of thing. But again, and it doesn't mean that the show's horrible or anything.
No,
I
absolutely
don't,
not.
Like I want to be clear about my position here. I had really, really, really high expectations. Like the longer we got into this show, and it just kind of feels like the structural issues that really weren't the show's fault kind of just did it in towards the end. And so, like, you can't really rely on the logical storytelling, but the emotional storytelling still is there. And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, hey, like, yeah. I mean, what grabbed me about the show is the emotional journey of Sam and Bucky. It wasn't like, oh, what are the Flag Smashers doing? Like, oh, wait, what are they about? That wasn't the hook. The hook in the beginning was Sam and Bucky, and
Yeah.
and like with Sam's at the beginning, just very hesitant to pick up the shield, and seeing him now wearing the costume and with the shield, and it just looks phenomenal, and
seeing people accept him.
Yeah,
that was important. Like the politicians that he tells off or tells them to check their privilege on her. That speech, like they accept him. The people watching it, Isaiah Bradley accepts him, which I think is the most important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Piece of it, and it's, I don't know. I just felt good for Sam. It's like he's like, it was nice to see a series like this exploring essentially two people who had been just sidekicks to Steve Rogers. Because they're both interesting characters in their own right, and I think the series did a good job of expounding on that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, like my friends were watching Winter Soldier movie the other day, and I was just looking. I'm just like, wow, look at how far we've come with Sam. Like, he just initially started as just some guy that was a sidekick and was helping out Steve, and now he's the new Captain America. And yeah, no, I was very satisfied with how his arc ends, and yeah, no, there's no disappointments for me in terms of Sam's arc. I think it hit the beats where I expected it to hit, and also doing it well. When Falcon Winter Soldier was announced, I felt, was like, wait, they're not making him Captain America? Because it was Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I was initially disappointed at first, but and then going into the show, I realized, like, oh, this is his journey to finally become Captain America towards the end. So yeah, on that front, I was just glad that the show proved me wrong, where I was just like, they're not gonna make him Captain America because they're like, they're being pussies about it. But but hey, I was glad to be proven wrong, and I'm really excited to see him in New Avengers movies and such. So but let's talk about John Walker. What how do you think his involvement was going to play out in this episode? Versus,
Not the way it did, certainly.
yeah.
It really seemed like he was gonna be more of. I didn't expect him to die, and I don't think either of us did. But I didn't expect him to be so willing to work with Bucky and Sam at the end and be accepting of the situation. Because he got like a relatively happy ending, all things considered. And once again, it really feels like there were a few scenes missing because the last thing, like I said, the last thing we see of him is he's building another shield and another suit, and it's like it really felt like he was gonna go rogue and he was gonna keep being pushed further and further off that edge. That never happened, and so this is going back to missing scenes,
I guess.
reshoots.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but it definitely felt like there were a few beats missing. But I don't think it was like an unnatural point for his story to end up at either. And because the whole thing is that like he has the choice to go after Carly and seek vengeance or do the right thing, and he finally chooses to do the right thing instead of the selfish thing. And so that was nice to see him getting a little bit of a redemptive moment.
Yeah.
Because it like he was never a bad like he's not a perfect guy. He was like the whole perfect soldier, but not the perfect man the way Steve Rogers was. And so the show made it abundantly clear that he was never the right choice. And I think he's also kind of accepted that at this point because even has that scene at the end where where he redoes the suit and Julia Louis-Dreyfus says that groaner of a line about U.S. agent.
We don't need a Captain
It was
America.
bad.
We need a U.S. agent. So, I would have preferred if they just didn't...
I mean, you can work for the fucking like FBI as like an accountant and still have the title of agent. So it's like that. It's like agent is such a vague term that where it's like that's the like I understand that they're trying to fit the Easter egg in there, but oh my god!
I think the suit just says it. You know, I feel like you don't need.
We got it. We get the idea. I just, but the funny thing is that like his life didn't fall apart the way I expected it to. He still has his girlfriend, wife. Partner. He still has a position within the U.S. government. He's like, I don't know. It's like I loved watching him as a character and watching his development, and I'm happy that they didn't kill him off and that we're gonna see him around again, especially probably in that Dark Adventures, Thunderbolt-ish kind of way. And I think that there's a lot more potential with that character down the line. So I'm happy that that Disney agrees.
Absolutely. I was surprised, but also I guess a little off put because like I felt like there was a scene missing. But no, I did really like that, like, he chose to save the senators instead of, going after Carly, because, like, this whole time when we're following him, he's just doing the thing that we don't want him to do, or just like, that's John Walker for you, he's a dick. But actually seeing him having some redemptive qualities was actually a nice change. And with him being the U.S. agent now does open up for Dark Avengers and the Thunderbolts, most likely. The fun fact about how John Walker became the U.S. agent with the black suit and everything in the comics was when John Walker was Captain America, when he was wearing the red, white, and blue, Steve Rogers went rogue and went as the captain, just a captain, with that black suit. After John Walker sort of realizes that he's not fit for the role, he gives up the mantle of Captain America and gives it back to Steve Rogers. And there's a whole ceremony of him handing the shield off, and John Walker gets shot. He's assassinated. And everybody thinks he's dead, but actually he faked his death so that he could become the U.S. agent, for like a rogue agent, for a covert agent for the U.S. government. So Yeah, with that beat of him just having that new suit in the episode was more or less just like oh yeah, like well, if you can't be Captain America, well, you can be his like just this covert agent for us type thing. So excuse me. So I'm assuming there's going to be like more more Dark Avengers coming in soon. Maybe Loki as well. I'm not quite sure. I don't know what the lineup is going to be, but
Well, because Loki is the next show coming up.
yeah, Loki is definitely the next show coming up. So maybe I'm I'm not sure, but the Thunderbolts are more or less with superpowered beings on Earth than like a literal dark reflection of the Avengers. It's just more or less like a Suicide Squad type thing. Um, and what was that lady's name again? The
Valentina.
Valentina. Val. We'll call her Val. Uh, Apparently, her first appearance was supposed to be in the Black Widow movie. Um, and this was supposed to be our second time seeing her. But because
So this was supposed to be her like Nick Fury moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Oh wow.
so she's in the Black Widow movie. So we'll be
A quick
expecting her.
reminder for everybody watching: Black Widow was supposed to have come out last November, while this show was originally supposed to have come out last fall.
Yep.
So I don't know, it got pushed back a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You get the idea.
Yeah. Black Widow was supposed to come out first, and then Falcon Winter Soldier. So yeah, her first appearance was supposed to be in that. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing if they're going to do a Dark Avengers series or the Thunderbolts, because I would definitely be very interested in that. But speaking of rogue agents, or Bucky, he kind of got sidelined this episode. Don't you think? Would you agree?
It ended where I thought it was going to end, with him coming clean to the old man.
Mm-hmm.
Although even it felt like that scene was a little too short. Like, not that I thought it was bad. I thought it was a good scene. I just would have liked to have seen more of it.
I agree.
The whole thing with the therapist felt like it got dropped, because like he leaves that like thank you note to her, but it's again, it just feels like there's missing context and missing scenes.
Yeah, what I was expecting. You remember that whole thing in the first episode where that Bucky's monster like, hi, I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore. I'm trying to do better, and then he smiles awkwardly. I was expecting that to come back around at some point, because that felt like setup for like something. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but again, I felt like cut content. So, but yeah, his therapist, I felt like, she was supposed to be like the bad therapist, and Sam was a much better therapist for Bucky in the last episode. Sam actually talking Bucky through it, and Bucky actually taking his advice. So I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, like what happens with Bucky, I'm totally okay with, and seeing him like happy playing with the kids, and just having a relatively good time as Bucky, and not like so stoic all the time. It was actually really nice. Like his destination. I didn't have a problem with. I just wish I saw more of it.
Yeah, it's like it felt like out of the, I don't know that you could call John Walker a main character, but he's top 3. Out of the 3, it felt like it really felt like 2 of them got sidelined, while this episode went all in on Sam's final, assuming his final form.
His final form.
Right behind me in the episode. And while that was probably the correct choice, it just felt like it's called Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Well, Captain America and the Winter Soldier now. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely would have preferred, I don't know, a much longer scene, at least with him and Hakajima. But yeah, I mean, like, with their arcs coming to a close in this season of television, what do you think is next for them? Do you think there might be a season 2 of the show, or
Um,
because WandaVision was a mini series, like, that was a one and done. I'd be very surprised if there was a
was
season 2.
this supposed to be a miniseries, or was this
I don't
like was this supposed to be one and done?
No,
Like,
I
'cause
don't think so.
I don't know, cause like Disney's doing this with a lot of their shows, where some of them are one and dones. Like over in Star Wars land, they're doing the same exact thing. Like Obi-Wan's supposed to be a one and done. Whenever that comes out. But The Mandalorian is a long-running series. I don't know, because it depends on like whether or not they think they can tell the story of like Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers or whatever as a movie, and it just doesn't seem like that's the direction they're going. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of these characters come back in some form, or some
Yeah.
of these plot lines get continued. Like how because you know how comics will have a lot of concurrent running issues in the same canon. So it's like you have Batman, but you also have Detective Comics, which is like Batman's main associates, and then Dick Grayson has his own series, and Barbara Gordon has her own series. But like once a year, so like everything will cross over, and those are in like big events, and those are the like. It wouldn't shock me if Marvel's doing something where like some of these side characters that they're trying to build up as the second wave of Avengers, they're gonna keep doing shows for, at least for a few of them, depending on the success or perceived success of these. And then just use the movies as some of the crossover stuff. Because, like, the interesting thing about both this and WandaVision is you could theoretically watch these characters in a new movie without really having to watch these shows. Because you're going to, like, because the last time we see in the show, in the movies, is Wanda's been brought back to life, but Vision's still dead. And, like, literally the last thing she saw before she killed him was she had to, before she got brought back, was that she was the one that killed Vision originally. And then had to relive his death multiple times. And so the fact that she's kind of off the deep end wouldn't be that much of a jump to make. Sam, the last time we see him in the movie, he's just been handed the shield, so it's not a logical jump to see him wearing the suit in the next time we see him in the movie. And then, you know, Bucky's in a much happier place. It's like, because his arc was more internal and less external change. And so, like, none of these things are, like, logical jumps. So, like, if you had never seen these shows, you wouldn't really be all that out of context.
Right.
However, I don't know that, like, John Walker, like, let's say I'm somebody who sees, like, the average moviegoer who sees, like, what, 4 movies a year. And so the last thing I saw from the MCU was Endgame. And all of a sudden there's this John Walker dude running around who's dressed kind of like Captain America but has no logos on him. It's like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't shock me if they did this with the intention of at least maybe doing a second season, or maybe having a sequel series more focused on some of the other characters. Like, I don't think they're done. I just don't know what the next project would look like, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, for phase, I think we're in phase 4. Yeah. This phase, they've announced all of the lineups with all the other shows, like Secret Invasion, Armor Wars, something like that. Miss Marvel. With WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier now finally done, they do leave some loose ends for for some of these supporting characters to appear in the other shows too, that are coming out in this phase. So like maybe we can see White Vision in Armor Wars, maybe, or I really don't know the plot of. Well, I know the comic book plot of Secret Invasion, but I don't know if they're gonna stick. They're gonna be super faithful to that in the TV show.
And that's probably what that after credits scene was setting up with Sharon.
Probably.
Or
could she be a Skrull?
I don't know. There was theories on, like, that would be really, really unsatisfying to have her not be her.
Yeah.
But like,
Now that I think about it, god damn it, yeah.
but apparently, like we haven't. That's one of the reasons why I think we're gonna see more of this, maybe in TV show form, because we have not seen the last of Sharon Carter either.
Yeah, apparently she's the power broker, so like, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? I guess we gotta do something with her. I don't know. It's a weird character. I don't know. I don't buy it 100%. It's just, again, I feel because she was just sort of there, then she's gone, then she's back. Oh, she's a power broker. I'm like, okay, cool.
We never even got told what the power broker is actually doing, or why they're so important.
Yeah, I that they see all in Madripoor and stuff like that, and I don't know. But
Okay.
they're like the kingpin, I guess. Like selling art along with weapons. I don't know why she would fund the experimentation of the super soldier serum. That's the thing.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, this is probably stuff that was cut related to the pandemic storyline.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, like, with other confusing bits, you mentioned your thoughts about the mixed message of the show.
Okay, so this show has some unintentional mixed messaging in it. And this was one of the gripes I had in an earlier episode, is that the show's trying to do this like black and gray morality, or like a gray and gray morality kind of outlook. So not every one person's point of view is right, and not every one person's point of view is totally wrong either. And so part of that was that, like, Carly and the Flag Smashers had some really, really sympathetic motivation or backstories. But again, we don't know exactly what's motivating them, or exactly what their goal, like what they're trying to accomplish, is. So it's like, it never felt like there were any stakes with them. But as far as the show's messaging goes, part of that is that they were trying to show that Carly was a product of her environment, and while she was a terrorist, she was also a victim, and she shouldn't be labeled as a terrorist, and she can still be saved. She's burning people alive, blowing people up, trying to poison people, and trying to, like, bomb buildings and execute unarmed hostages in the middle of New York City. She had crossed the point of no return, and the show was trying to create it like this big tragedy that Sam couldn't talk her down at the last minute. But it felt like the show tried to have its cake with her and eat it too. And maybe once again we can trace this back to cut material, but it's like, we needed to know what exactly it was she was trying to accomplish, because without that, the only thing we see her do is like guerrilla terroristic actions without much context to it. And so trying to portray it as she's like doing it out of a sense of nobility or honor or something like that, or that it's a tragedy that she got put down at all, it's like it doesn't work. It doesn't. And then there's other things, like the show has a lot of ideas about like other countries, and the GRC is very obviously a stand-in for the UN, and then Captain America as John Walker is the US, and so it kind of has the whole should other countries or more powerful countries be playing the role of world policemen. But then the show treats the Wakandans as total badasses for doing the same exact thing. They even have a line where they say, "Oh, we don't have jurisdiction." And it's like,
yeah.
I mean, granted, the Wakandans wanted one very specific thing and then went away once that very specific thing was given back to them, i.e., Zemo. But it is definitely a contradiction. How much it detracts from your enjoyment of the show, I mean, for me, not really, but it's definitely there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, it is something that, like, I think it wasn't intentional, but it was, if you sit down and think about it, again, this show, is more reliant on, the sort of emotional storytelling more than the logical, like you said. And it's just like, if you sit down and think about certain things a little too much, then it's just like, this doesn't add up. But I think, with what they had to work with, with the pandemic hitting and having to cut out certain things, I still think it's pretty impressive that they can, with such an important part cut out, allegedly, 'cause Marvel won't confirm it. I think that they still did a really good job with what kind of story they want to tell. But yeah, I mean, like, besides this final episode, um, this season as a whole, what did you think about this show, and would you recommend it?
Okay, so I don't think it should be any secret that I thought that this was by far the weakest episode of the bunch. And I don't inherently hold the show accountable for doing the best they could with what they had to work with. I'm just questioning if this was actually the best that they could have done under the given circumstances, because it really felt like they just cut stuff out without having anything to replace it with. I mean, I guess it's preferable to not having released it at all, but it does hurt the final product regardless of what was going on behind the scenes. I think this show gets a lot right. It really does, with Sam and Bucky and John Walker specifically, and when this show focuses on those three, it has some really, really good material. And then there's also the social themes that they were including in there, like as personified by Isaiah Bradley, Sam, and I think when the show focused on those themes and with, it was about as far away from subtle as you could get, but that doesn't mean it was bad.
Yeah.
I don't always think the kind of like smashing you over the head with those kind of themes. I don't think that style of political messaging always works, and sometimes it gets really fucking obnoxious. For whatever reason, I don't think the show ever quite crossed that line. And so I think like I said, the show gets a lot right. And I think that again, when it focuses specifically on Walker, Bucky, or Sam, I won't say it hits it out of the park or a home run, but it hits a double. So yeah, I would recommend watching this because it is a good watch. I don't know that this has all that much rewatch value, but I don't regret having seen it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I didn't really like this episode, but I like the show overall.
Yeah.
And I want to see what happens next with these characters. So the show has me invested.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your superhero fatigue? Did this add to it, or does this a breath of fresh air for you?
It's weird because so much of the show was more character focused, and that's what I really, really appreciated. It didn't really feel like a superhero show for a while, just because so much of it had staples of just international spy thrillers like James Bond or Jason Bourne or something like that. And so that's one of the things I really, really appreciated about the show. I mean, clearly it's a superhero film, superhero genre, but it felt like it had more to say than just that. And so I appreciated that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, I said the same thing about WandaVision when these Marvel TV shows were announced, because, at the time, I had, the good old Marvel fatigue where it's just like, it's just going to be more of the same thing, but in TV form. But when I watched WandaVision, they were experimenting, and it was just getting really weird with things. But of course, ending up being the typical Marvel stuff. But we're not talking about that right now. But with, the Marvel, with Falcon Winter Soldier, it was the same thing for me where I was just like, I don't know about this, going into it, but because my expectations were low, the show got a lot right, and just unexpectedly emotionally hit me really hard, you know. And yeah, the show, as a Cap fan, and I would recommend any Captain America fan, this is a must watch. It may not be as like, um, as good as, the Winter Soldier movie, but I think it's an important watch, in terms of, like, the importance of the Captain America character and what it means, what it means for Steve Rogers, and yeah, I love the show. And yeah, I agree with you, this is definitely the weakest episode. um but kind of like, I'm sensing a theme here, like with WandaVision, where the last episode is the weakest. But I'm hoping that doesn't become a recurring thing with future Marvel TV shows. But yeah, it's a high recommend for me. Even like, even if you don't think the ending sticks to landing 100%, I still think it's, in terms of themes, and characters like Isaiah Bradley, I think it's a very important watch, if you're a Marvel fan or a Captain America fan. So, um, Matt, yeah, thank you for joining me on this journey.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I hope to join forces with you again on any other thing that we might have to cover. And thank you guys for following us on this journey as well. Yeah, thank you as always for tuning in. You can see more 2FAST2MOVIE on our channel here on YouTube. Our friends will be covering other shows like Invincible and My Hero Academia. You can find our podcasts on most places you find podcasts, like Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And as always, it's 2FAST2MOVIE.